Right, like my personal pet peeve right now, I did this video the other day, on the way that virtual desktops work in Plasma. I don't know if you know what I'm getting at here.
Well, I know it's going to be complaining. So,
That's true. You are very right there. No,
no.
no, it's fine. It's fine. Take as many jabs as you want. No, it's that virtual desktops are shared across all your screens instead of being per screen. So if you swap to Workspace 2, it swaps to Workspace 2 on every screen. And there's been an open issue about it since KDE 3, I believe.
I can imagine that. And it's one of the things that some people want it, and the window manager part's super trivial. We can do a window manager part easily. The challenging part is when you have this modular user experience where you don't say, we always have a panel on every screen. Well, how do you make a pager work? And if it's with a panel on the ROM, I mean, what GNOME does, GNOME has a setting for per screen virtual desktops, but they've got this concept of the primary stays, and you can only move the secondary. And if you can control how it interacts with the rest of the stack, that's fine. I mean, if you're only a window manager, that's fine. You don't have these things like pages and the context menus and your task manager and whatnot to have to take into consideration.
Right.
And that's the part that I'm not quite sure how that would play out. Because that's not just a case of making this work, but it's also creating a new communication channel for your task manager to say, I mean, right now, if you're on X11 specifically, I've got a window on screen A, a window on screen 2, on a different version.
Screen A and screen 2. Yeah, thank you for the naming.
Pardon?
You said screen A and screen 2.
Sorry, I got...
No, it's fine.
Yes, well, users can name things however
they can do that, yes.
On Virtual Desktop C. No, it's the task manager that does this filtering of saying, well, I know what all your windows are, I know what virtual desktop I'm on, I know what screen I'm on if I'm filtering by that. So it's that ancillary part of that's a challenge. Certainly now. I mean, before there was stuff with a specification, but we would need to come up with our own specification to talk to that task manager as well. So, which on Wayland we have. On Wayland we've got a completely bespoke protocol to talk to your task manager and say, here's the information of what's available. So when we drop an X11 session, at some point, some of these things become easier because you don't have to write 2 separate code paths. We can just tell your task manager, this is visible, you don't need to know why it's visible, but you should show it. And that sort of problem goes away because Quinn can just tell it this sort of information. But I mean, everyone's got their own feature request.
Sure.
And it takes somebody who wants it to go and work on it, I guess, because when it comes to feature requests, our bug tracker ticks filled up with feature requests, and it takes an incredibly good feature request to make me think, you know what, I'm going to stop doing the things that I want to do. I think that idea is better. So when we get these feature requests, often people try and say why they want it. Right? They'll say, I want this because, and they'll give an impassioned reason why they want it. But what they don't do is that impassioned reason of why it's good for everybody, why it's good for the ecosystem. Because that's the sort of comment that makes me go, well, you know, actually, that's going to make my product better. Therefore, we should put time in it.
No, that is understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own list of things I want to do. If I was locked in a room with my computer for 100 years, I could keep myself busy. Not like that, but writing code. And I think every developer's like that. There's no shortage of ideas. So feature request, it's all about trying to sell your idea of why it's so much better than the ideas that they already have.
Well, I've got a video on the tiling. I won't spoil the entire video. But one of the feature requests I did bring up in that, I have opened up the wish list thing as well for it. So what I don't like about the way it currently works is the quick tiling bindings don't interact with the tiling editor layout.
Yeah. That was true, or is true in 6.0. In fact, it's true right now. When we added this tile, or snap tile support, I could have got the original version, which was with the corners, and then we added in this customization sort of option level of the next step on from that. And they share some code underneath. 6.1, they're going to share even more code. And they're definitely going to be sort of moving towards that. But it was done in a let's not introduce regressions and workflow changes way, which you need to do to an extent. Be somewhat conservative and have a slow path of some people are used to just dragging things to a corner and whatever. So, I mean, Quinn's not a tiling window manager. And, I mean, if people want that, I mean, I don't want to say they should use something else, but sometimes that's the right answer. Every desktop does cater for something different. And
Cosmic Alpha's out next month. Wait, sorry, month after that. It's still May.
Yeah,
it's still March, isn't it?
Interesting about Cosmic. Yeah, I mean, that is by default. I mean, if you build up a tiling window manager with that as your intention, you're going to get a different result. So,
well, Cosmic's also interesting because, like as you said a couple of times, KDE is a very, very old project, whereas Cosmic it only started like a year ago, so it doesn't have that legacy croft there. They can start at like a much cleaner state than KDE is in. It's not like they're trying to fix up, 20-year-old code bases where people thought that doing this thing was a good idea, or something's designed around the way the X works, and now it has to be redesigned for like a more Wayland approach. Like you start from doing it the way that you'd want to do it if you had a clean slate from today.
And that's got a lot of potential. And there's an advantage to having years of experience and fixes in sorts of things. I mean, we've got support for all sorts of weird calendars and whatnot for things that I don't understand but are very important to some people, and I suspect, I'm not going to make claims, that I suspect any new desktop coming in isn't going to have that sort of thing. It's probably not going to have a UI for setting up your printer or your Thunderbolt authorization or these things. So, I mean, nobody expects that on day zero. The question is, will they build up in the community enough to sort of get to that level? And that's going to be the exciting part, is does Pop! OS build a community and fledge out? And how they manage that? Because having community contributions is a challenge sometimes. I mean, it's an amazing thing. I mean, I provide community contributions. We get some amazing stuff from amazing contributors. Also, where you end up with quite difficult code if you don't have that top level design down of people writing things. So how Pop! OS embraces that is going to be interesting to see, and only time will tell on that. So I mean, I'm definitely going to try it out when it's available somewhere. I'm sure you will too. And
yeah, I definitely will be.
I wish that's the best, or second best, obviously.
It's fine.
But the developers I've spoken to from Pop! OS
for the record, Carl Rochelle does watch this show, so he might hear the one. Yeah, the System 6 CEO. I'll drag him back on the show, ask him about that one. Anyway, I sidetracked you there. Go on, what you were saying.
I'm just focused on Pop! OS now, or Cosmic.
I think what people need to realize is like the desktops we have on Linux aren't like competitors in the same sense as like a product would be. Like obviously you want your desktop to be the best desktop there is, but it's not like, you guys can take inspiration from what other desktops are doing. If there's something that Cosmic's doing really well, then like you guys can integrate that into Plasma as well if someone wants to do that. Or if Plasma's doing something well, then they can integrate that into their system. Like what people are trying to do is, at the end of the day, just make better software.
Yeah, I mean, there were sometimes tensions raised. Mostly not about competing. It's about trying to make sure your stuff integrates into other people's desktops and vice versa, and making sure that's a consistent playing field. Doesn't always happen. I mean, we have several GNOME-specific workaround in Qt Wayland, which, I mean, happens. And you want to see what was reciprocated. So, so I mean, there's tensions, but I mean, when you have an in-life meetup, everyone's always positive. Everyone wants the same thing of Linux is thrive, and we do have different demographics, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not sure where Pop! OS is aiming now. Could they are targeting typical users? I mean, System 76 sells laptops to regular people, so where they pitch themselves is also a bit of an unknown right now.